Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wholehearted Loving. I'm Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Georgiana.
Today, we are going to be walking through a body-based self-connection practice that can help us navigate unfamiliar territory or uncomfortable territory. G, do you want to walk us through that and kind of tell us a bit about how you came to this and how you use it in your life?
Sure. Let's walk through the practice first. I'm happy to describe it to you, and then you could follow along. But first, we'll just feel what your anchoring spot is right now, meaning where do you feel most connected to a surface that's supporting you? Would that be your feet on the ground? If so, maybe you want to smush them in a little bit more. Or perhaps it's your butt on the seat. And really, we're doing this just to grow that awareness of body connection. And then how this one works is we're going to combine a little bit of intentional breath with intentional movement. So on the inhale through the nose, we'd be bringing our shoulders up to our ears. And then on the exhale through the mouth, we roll our shoulders back first and then down. So it's quite an exaggerated sort of roll, but do what feels good for your body. On the exhale, I like to really let a big breath out. And so we'll do that together. Let's do that together 3 times. So you're inhaling through the nose, shoulders up to the ears, exhaling through the mouth, roll the shoulders back and down. And I like to just sort of pause and reset after each one, like really feel my butt on the chair. And then I'll just go again, and you can have your eyes open or closed, or you could try both and see how they feel. We can try a little variation of this, which would be take a look at something in your space. It doesn't matter what. I'm looking at a lamp. So take a look at a lamp. Can you feel your butt or your feet? And then whenever you're ready, just follow your breath. And while you're breathing, just move your body in that way where on the inhale, we bring the shoulders up. On the exhale, we roll them back and down. So just taking a moment to just notice how that felt. And just notice if it feels any different than before we did them. And what I often like to do is I do them in sets of 3. Because 3, I'm like, I could squeeze that in anytime, anywhere. And what I practiced after that was I'll do a set of 3 and I'll see how I feel. And I'll ask myself, would I like 3 more? Or does this feel complete? And whatever the answer is, I just follow that and I just carry on with my day. And like sometimes maybe after 6, I still want 3 more. I don't really know. I never assume I'm going to know what my body needs and how it feels. So I just like to check in and ask myself. And that's it. And the reason why I really wanted to share this one is because this was probably, besides learning to feel my feet on the ground and my butt on the chair, this was like the first go-to that I had. And it changed everything for me, being able to do this one thing. And I know sometimes we can learn different things. We can get really excited for different tools and want to bring them all into our day. And I also know for me, like, I do that for like 3 days and I forget everything. I do nothing. So I just sort of counted on this one and just played with this one. And once I got used to bringing that one into my day, like when I was sitting, I would practice walking around the house doing 3 at a time. And what I found was like my ability to like arrive at, my kid's bedroom or arrive at an office or arrive at a meeting, arrive somewhere with another person and be able to be present was so much higher once I built that into that walk towards that person. So by the time I arrived in front of that person, I was already more connected to breath and body and how I was feeling and what I was needing, all through the simple practice of let's pay attention to my breath and pair some movement with that.
It definitely can take me 3 breaths with the set of movement to catch up with what I'm doing. Like my wiring is now caught up enough to remember I've got these tools and to go to employ them. But the sort of freneticness, the anxiety that I could get caught up in can take 3 breaths to actually really arrive with myself.
And I would say, like, in the beginning, my goal wasn't even to do 3 of those and then arrive with myself. My goal was just like, let's just do 3 of them, because this is opposite to what I typically do, which is nothing, which is I just zoom from place to place and plop myself down and start doing whatever I think I need to be doing. So in the beginning, none of this was like, I'm going to do it because I'm going to feel better, or I'm going to do it because it's going to help me ground. It was like, I'm just going to do something that helps me connect to body and breath, because most of the time I'm not connected to either. And what that opened up for me, what the skill set that built for me, and what changed for me was huge and significant from just being able to do something simple.
I remember you telling me about using this tool. I think your kids were fighting with each other, and maybe you weren't feeling as patient that day as you might other days. And you were like, I need to do this while I walk to their bedroom so that I don't lose my mind once I arrive there.
Totally. And it made a huge difference, because in my mind already, because it grates on me when my children fight. Like, I just grew up in a household where there was so much fighting. So the second I hear anything that resembles what I think could turn into some conflict, my body's already stirring. And yeah, I think I was like just at my limit that day. I really wanted the impulse, right? The fight impulse was there, and I just wanted to like walk in and scream and shout and tell them off. But like, I had enough access to like the heart side, which was like, that's really not how you want to handle things. This is really not about them. This is just you at your limit today. And them having a typical kid thing going on. And so I knew, like, as I was walking up the stairs, I'm like, let's do that shoulder roll thing. And I just did it the whole way walking up the stairs. By the time I sat in my kid's bed, I could feel like I'm sitting on his bed. I could feel my butt on the bed. And that's why these things are important. Like, because you're going to have moments where you're like in it. And in those moments where you're in something and you can feel your butt on the bed next to a kid who's having a hard time, who you just want to like scream at sometimes because you're frustrated, I could like sit on his bed and I could look at his piggy bank or whatever toy was on the shelf. And then I could place a hand on his back and I could just be with breath and feel my hand, right? Because I had practiced feeling my butt on the seat. I've been practicing feeling what my hand is touching. I've been practicing looking at an object and just a long, slow exhale. And so in that moment when I'm in the middle of it, I can bring all those pieces in. And that helped me. I remember feeling my hand, and that prompted me to look at him. And then I always find when I look at my kids, I see the innocence. And then that sort of settles me and reminds me, like, this is just a kid having a hard time. And then I was able to say, hey, what's up? What's bothering you? But had I not done those shoulder rolls up the stairs, typically what would have happened was I would have stomped, maybe a little bit harder than I needed to. The breath would have been huffier. The brain would have been like, what the F is wrong with you people? Like, can't you just sort your whatever out? And like, the brain would have gone so fast that by the time I walked into his room, I probably would have walked in with a force energetically that I didn't, because I was quite chill when I walked in. And it just changes everything. So it's pretty neat. And, I have a lot of people ask me, when I'm about to freak out, like, how do I calm myself down? And, I'll always say like, it's too late. Don't bother that time. Just know that you're probably going to have to do a repair. Because it's really hard to regulate yourself when you're like at the peak, about to go over the edge already. But like, the thing to practice is to practice something like these shoulder rolls when you don't feel like you need it at all, so that those things are wired up.
Yeah, these shoulder rolls are something I would I would have done for a long time because somebody told me to do them, and I would not have been able to piece together the real goodness of self-connection for myself until I had done it for a while, until something came up and I'd be like, okay, well, I've got shoulder rolls, whatever that's for. Sure, I'll just do it. And then slowly it connects. It makes me think of yoga, where if I'm doing yoga for a while, over the course of a couple of months, you start feeling into the different parts of your body that are meant to be supporting the pose. And I remember the feeling of discovering how breath supported the pose. Like, these are words I had heard but didn't understand. And this is the same thing for me with the goodness of these self-connection exercises.
Yeah, and they seem really insignificant, and you might wonder how would that make a difference in my life? And it really is practicing when you don't feel that you need it. So in the middle of something more emotionally intense, your body has that muscle memory of going to that thing because it knows that this is something that feels helpful and supportive. And recently I spoke to someone who I've been working with, and they said, I just had my first ever panic attack. Scared the crap out of me. I thought I was going to die. And then they said, and I remember the things we've been working on. The things we've been working on are really, literally simple things like this. And they said, so I started doing them. And then I managed to get myself down-regulated enough that I could sit back down, turn on a movie, chill out a little bit. And we talked about how cool that was to know that they were able to fall back on these things that they've been practicing. And I remember when we first started working together that they were open, but they were unsure, I think, how something like this may be able to make such a big difference. But they practiced and they noticed it was helpful here and there in everyday life. But that's when a big test comes, right? A panic attack is no joke, especially when you've never had one and you don't know what the heck is happening. But in that moment, there was enough muscle memory, right? There was enough practice in moments where it wasn't really necessary or things weren't as intense, and it helped.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know. I feel like who doesn't want to have access to options and ease when they're having a hard time? So,
right. It really feels like a toolbox. Like before, the only tool I had was freak out. And now I had a panic attack months and months ago, and I stopped what I was doing and looked for rectangles and felt my feet, and it genuinely made a huge difference, which I never would have anticipated. I felt like in that moment I could pause and I could choose a tool that would help, and it was a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm working with people over a long period of time who are practicing these things. The other day I worked with someone, it was our first time together, and some people when they come to work with me, they know they want to work for some time together. We're going to build up a relationship. We're going to work on many different areas of life. But this one person was just recommended to me through word of mouth, and they wanted to just, I had asked, what do you envision? And they said, I don't really know yet. But I know that today in our one session together, I'm going through some really hard stuff right now in my life. And I'd love some tools that would just help make the next couple weeks feel a little bit easier. And we walked through some things, and they were like, wow, I feel this nice sinking feeling in my body, sinking in a good way. And they said, I wake up in the morning with panic and terror recently. And so this is what we do. I said, are you open to going and laying down in your bed, sort of mimicking how you might be waking up? And we'll just practice some of these things, practice bringing awareness to the body. And they were open to that. And so we tried a few things, and they were really pleasantly surprised at how quickly they could create a sense of comfort and peacefulness in their bodies. And yeah, it's really
neat. Yeah. So we can be a bit redundant and repetitive with our requests that you all feel your feet and feel your bum and feel your breath. But this is why, because we're priming our bodies to experience those peaceful moments so that we can summon them more easily over time.
Right? Like something I've been practicing lately with people is when they notice, through a body practice perhaps, or just through regular life, they have a little bit of comfort or ease or that pleasant sinking feeling, that melting feeling people have been telling me, I feel like I'm melting. Then I'll ask them, like, is there a willingness to allow yourself to enjoy that for 1 breath or 3? And they start seeing that, hey, my body was very much always oriented towards chaos and stress. It doesn't actually know this other feeling of calm and melting, sinking comfort. It might know that in fleeting moments, but it's definitely not a state I'm used to being in. And then I watch them enjoy that experience for 3 breaths. I watch them like with delight that they created that experience in their bodies for themselves. And they become like something else wakes up in people that they're like, I want that feeling. I want more of that feeling in my life. And that's when they start doing more of the things that allow for that kind of feeling to be more prominent in their life and making choices that create more of that feeling in their life. And it's pretty cool to see. So we're also wanting to sort of learn our bodies and learn how our body lets us know that maybe our body is craving 3 more. And yet our mind is trying to pull us back to, oh, I should get back to work. I should go answer that text. I should, so noticing in your body that little bit of inner conflict where one part of you wants one thing and the other part of you wants to pull you away. It's really valuable to know and become aware of how that feels, right? Because then you can catch it more often. And then once you catch it, you can be a little bit more intentional with choosing, well, which do I want to let guide me in this moment? Do I want to let my body guide me in what it's craving and asking for? Or do I want to let my mind and all the shoulds guide me? And there's no right or wrong. It's just you get to decide, right? But often we're not deciding. We're just being pulled by one thing and we're used to just autopilot, go that way.
Okay, great.
So let's find that anchoring spot again, whether it's your feet. I have my feet on some footrests on the chair. I also feel my butt on the seat. Just bringing some awareness to your breath. So sometimes we're just bringing awareness to breath and not changing it. And other times we might be working a little bit more intentionally with breath, and it's just different. Neither is better or worse. It's different. And so whenever you're ready, just inhaling through the nose, bringing the shoulders up to the ears. And then exhaling through the mouth, rolling your shoulders back and then down. And following your own pace. When you are inhaling, you bring your shoulders up. You can notice what tension feels like. And then as you exhale and roll your shoulders back and down, notice what it feels like to release. We also want to practice noticing that contrast in feeling. And then inhaling, bring the shoulders up. Exhaling, rolling shoulders back and down. And pausing after 3 and checking in. Noticing if your body wants 3 more or if this is enough. We didn't really speak about this. Actually, before I get into that, just take a moment to notice how your body feels after 3 or 6 of these. Right? Maybe your body wants more, or maybe like Steph's doing, your body wants something different now. Right? So learning to honor what your body's asking for as the next thing. And what did I want to say? This tiny bit of movement, I think it's really significant in that most of us are typically really frozen solid and hunched forward and tightly closed up. So there's something just about opening up this heart space. It's more vulnerable to open the space up. A lot of emotion gets trapped and stored in this space. So I feel like, yeah, it's a nice way to get some energy moving, open up some stuff that's usually pretty tight.
Yes, Gigi.
Yeah. I think also symbolically doing something like this, even for 3 breaths, tells your body, I'm here to care for you. I care how you feel. Right? I'm willing to add something into our day, no matter how busy it is, that brings a little pause, that offers a little moment of reprieve. Right? I think that those messages are important. I think the body's paying attention.
Definitely. Is there anything else you want to say about this before we sign off?
I don't think so. Just enjoy practicing. See what happens. See how your life changes.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay. Thanks, Gigi. Well, then we'll see you guys next week. And as always, please do like, follow, and subscribe. And if anything we've said here today has been helpful for you, please share it with somebody that you care about. See you next time.
Bye.